It just got really quiet really fast.
If you've spent any time on the internet, you've probably come across a few stereotypes about Canada, a country known for its incredibly polite people and an undeniable love for maple syrup. However, Canada is much more than just these cliches. The Great White North has a wealth of fascinating discoveries to offer, from ancient ruins older than the pyramids to remarkably well-preserved fossils. Here are 20 shocking things recently discovered in Canada. Number 20. The pungent smell of 17-year-old fish sauce. For the last 17 years, the folks of St. Mary's, a quaint Canadian town nestled in Newfoundland, have endured a rather unusual predicament, the smell of fermented seafood sauce emanating from a long-abandoned factory nearby. Fish sauce tastes good, but no one really wants to smell like fish sauce 24/7, 7 days a week. During the summer, the stench becomes so unbearable that some residents opt to vacate their homes and seek refuge with relatives, simply to catch a breath of fresh air. The story dates back to 1990, when a Vietnamese immigrant named S. Go established the Atlantic Seafood Sauce Factory near St. Mary's. He aimed to produce a fermented seafood sauce highly esteemed in Vietnamese culture. Initially, things appeared promising, but 4 years into the venture, Go began voicing his grievances about Canadian regulations stifling his business aspirations. In 2000, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency inspected the factory and made a grim determination. The sauce was being produced in unsanitary conditions. 2 years later, the Atlantic Seafood Sauce Factory shut its doors for good, leaving behind colossal vats brimming with fermenting fish parts and seafood sauce that have continued to fester, generating a stink of epic proportions over the past 17 years. The vats of decomposing fish parts have deteriorated within the confines of the sealed Atlantic Seafood Sauce Factory. Eventually, they began to leak, spilling their noxious concoction across the factory floor, seeping into drains, and escaping through the building's sides into the ocean. In an attempt to contain the issue, someone plugged the drains with cement, trapping the putrid contents inside. As a result, it's estimated that the floor is now submerged under a revolting layer of 2 to 4 inches of rancid seafood sauce. Unfortunately, no one wants to clean up the abandoned seafood sauce factory. Well, there are some folks who require a hefty payment of above 700,000 Canadian dollars to do it, which is roughly over 500,000 US dollars. And, of course, the small town doesn't really have that kind of money. With no clear resolution in sight, the town of St. Mary's has recently sought financial aid from the Department of Municipal Affairs and Environment. However, a previous application had been rejected. Number 19. A hair freezing contest. The Yukon Territory in Canada isn't only known for the Ice Age secrets it revealed, but also for its diverse array of cultural and sporting events that draw in tourists from around the globe. Among these events, one of the most peculiar is the International Hair Freezing Contest, which takes place annually in February at Takini Hot Springs. As the name implies, this contest involves participants immersing themselves in the hot springs, where the water temperature reaches a toasty 40 degrees Celsius. They simply wait patiently as the frigid outside air does its work, freezing their damp hair into captivating, gravity-defying hairstyles. Sounds like a fun time until you get a cold, but I guess people in this place are built for negative-degree temperatures. The incentive to participate in this unique competition is a $150 cash prize. Additionally, all contestants are granted complimentary pool passes, offering them further enjoyment of the rejuvenating hot springs. To seal their participation and compete for the coveted prize, contestants must post photographs of their frozen hair creations on the venue's Facebook page by the end of the month. The host of this event warns the public that, while this might seem fun, this isn't something you're meant to try at home. Yeah, they really don't need to remind us. Besides, it's not like we live in a place where water can freeze. I'm sorry, but people who live in the hotter states can't relate. Number 18. A baby mammoth. Meet Nun Cho Jie, the incredible baby mammoth who lived more than 35,000 years ago during the Ice Age. This preserved baby mammoth was discovered by a gold miner in Canada's Yukon Territory in June 2022. Nun Cho Jie, believed to be a female mammoth, is now the most complete mammoth species found in North America and only the second of its kind in the world. While mammoths roamed the earth up to 4,000 years ago, Nun Cho Ga's journey ended 35,000 to 40,000 years ago. Back then, mammoths, wild horses, cave lions, and giant buffalo roamed Canada. In relation to her age, this tiny mammoth's level of preservation is astonishing. However, the credit goes to the ice. The environment is nature's own cryochamber, preserving every part of the animal's body, even her last meal of grass. It's believed that she was only 30 to 35 days old when she got stuck in the mud while grazing near her mother. The event, from getting trapped to burial, happened very quickly. Quite an unfortunate fate for this poor creature. But even so, Nunchoga's death contributed significantly to our knowledge about the great mammoths that once roamed our planet. Number 17. The longest suspension bridge. You're looking at the longest pedestrian suspension bridge in Canada, spanning an impressive 600 feet across and towering 150 feet above the canyon floor. This remarkable bridge surpasses the previous record held by the now second longest suspension bridge, which was 200 feet long. I don't know about you, but while the view is breathtaking, the height of this thing scares me. Would you dare cross this suspension bridge? Number 16. The little hitchhiking robot. As kids, we were warned that stranger means danger. It's natural for us to be wary of strangers, especially those who want to hitch a ride in the middle of nowhere. That hitchhiker just might be the nicest person in the entire world, but you have no way of knowing that, and it's always a gamble. It's hard to trust a stranger, and we live in a world where it's better to ignore hitchhikers rather than end up in the news as the next victim of a deranged killer. But perhaps if it's a robot, you can easily trust it, right? Introducing Canada's hitchhiking robot named HitchBOT. It was a cute, child-sized robot on a remarkable journey across Canada, stretching from Nova Scotia to British Columbia. Equipped with GPS, 3G wireless connectivity, a camera, and even a built-in child booster seat in its rear, this little robot embarked on a solo coast-to-coast adventure from Nova Scotia to British Columbia in 2014. It was expected that its charm and uniqueness would win over many willing participants throughout its journey. HitchBOT documented and shared its experiences on social media, providing a first-person perspective of its travels. While the project involved researchers, it wasn't a formal research endeavor. It was more of a creative experiment where HitchBOT was released into the wild. Well, I'll take this robot over a failed mutant experiment any day. This unconventional project flipped the conversation about robots on its head. Instead of asking if we can trust robots, it prompted the question, can robots trust people? Despite its limited mobility, HitchBOT relied on its communication skills to navigate the human world. With voice recognition, access to Wikipedia for conversation topics, and the ability to engage in multiple text conversations simultaneously, HitchBOT was designed to bridge the gap between technology and human interaction. While HitchBOT successfully traveled across Canada, Germany, and the Netherlands with little to no problem, this robot failed to traverse the United States. I think you can pretty much guess what happened to this robot. It attempted to cross the United States from Boston to San Francisco on July 17, 2015, but it was found destroyed just 2 weeks later in Philadelphia. I'm sorry, tiny robot, but it seems you can't really trust humans just yet. Number 15. Massive woolly mammoth bones. In 2021, Yukon gold miners discovered a treasure trove of a historical site in Yukon, a trove of magnificently preserved mammoth bones. Some of the bones were so large that they were almost as tall as one of the miners when held vertically. It's believed that woolly mammoths once roamed the northern expanses of present-day Canada some 30,000 to 40,000 years ago, possibly entering North America via the Bering Land Bridge. These majestic herbivores thrived in cold, dry, and likely treeless environments. However, around 10,000 years ago, they vanished from the earth, likely due to a combination of environmental challenges and increased hunting by early humans. It's believed that there were a total of 3 mammoths discovered in the area. However, the exact cause of death for these 3 specific woolly mammoths remains a mystery to this day. Number 14. Functional truck made of ice blocks. In 2014, a Canadian automotive products company created a unique vehicle, one that the Ice King would be proud of, a truck made entirely out of ice. This functional truck was the brainchild of Canadian Tire, based in Zurich, Ontario. Initially, this ice machine was created to showcase the impressive capabilities of their MotoMaster Eliminator Ultra battery, designed to function flawlessly even in sub-zero temperatures. Now, what can withstand ice without affecting it? Rather than ice itself, all it took for this concept to come to fruition was 14,000 pounds of ice and a lot of patience. The team subjected the MotoMaster Eliminator Ultra battery to frigid temperatures as low as -40 degrees Celsius before using it to start the ice truck. During the subsequent test drive, this icy creation achieved a speed of 12 miles per hour, covering a distance of approximately 1 mile. Not that bad, isn't it? Now, imagine stacking and using over 14,000 pounds of ice and meticulously transforming it into something functional. I must say that the finished product is as cool as its concept. You know that the creators of this truck extended a lot of effort just to realize this plan. Number 13. Polar bear hybrid. Grizzly or polar. This little fella is a mix of both. This pizzly, or growlar, is a hybrid creature that's now puzzling researchers after its emergence in western Canada and Alaska. The trail of this creature first started when a man in Nunavut, a remote region along Canada's Hudson Bay, encountered one of these remarkable creatures on his property. Although these creatures have been spotted in the past, the increase in their population implies that the habitat of polar bears is decreasing. As our planet's climate gets increasingly warmer, the melting ice pushes these creatures to explore lands they never would have reached. The same goes for grizzly bears. With more chances of encountering each other in the wild, more and more of these animal pairs may be breeding. However, scientists are concerned that continued interbreeding between grizzlies and polar bears may ultimately lead to the dilution of the polar bear population, potentially pushing it toward extinction. Now, listen, I know these guys are cute, but I'm hoping that in time mankind will be able to save them from extinction if you're from Canada. Number 12. The green water of Goldstream. No, this isn't a green screen. This water is actually green. This photo was captured in December 2010 in Goldstream Park in Victoria. Quite unexpectedly, the river's waters took on a neon green hue, which obviously wasn't a normal occurrence. Strangely, after approximately an hour, the fluorescent green coloring dissipated as suddenly as it appeared. Upon analyzing the neon green water, the local environment ministry identified the culprit as a chemical substance known as fluorescein. Fortunately, both the substance itself and its degradation byproducts are non-toxic. Experts, taking into consideration the concentration and flow rate of the river, concluded that the aquatic life and its habitat remained unharmed. While the responsible parties behind this vivid transformation have not been identified, authorities speculate that the dumping of fluorescein into Goldstream River was likely a mischievous holiday season prank. Well, that's a fun but incredibly harmful prank that shouldn't be repeated, don't you think? Number 11. Zur. In the remote and frozen wilderness of Yukon, Canada, a remarkable discovery was made: the exceptionally well-preserved remains of a prehistoric wolf pup named Zur, who roamed our planet over 50,000 years ago. Zur means wolf in the Han language, spoken by the locals in the region. The wolf pup was found in the summer of 2021 near the Klondike River. Researchers, led by paleontologist Dr. Grant Zazula, found the pup in the thawing permafrost, where it had remained untouched for millennia. Zur's fur, teeth, skin, and even some of its last meals have survived the test of time. This pristine state is primarily due to the permafrost's freezing temperatures, which helped to protect the pup's remains from decomposition. Radiocarbon dating places Zur's age at approximately 50,000 years old, making it one of the oldest and most complete wolf specimens ever found in the region. This valuable discovery offers researchers a unique opportunity to learn more about Ice Age wolves and their role in ancient ecosystems. Number 10. A spotted lake. For countless ages, Spotted Lake has held the esteemed reputation of a mystical healing body of water, and it's now evolved into one of Canada's most captivating tourist destinations, all thanks to its distinctive appearance. This lake is located within the Okanagan Valley in British Columbia. This body of water is among the planet's most mineral-rich lakes, boasting predominantly magnesium, calcium, and sodium sulfates. Throughout history, Spotted Lake has been famous as a magical healing spot. The local indigenous people believe the water could cure all sorts of ailments, like sprains, infections, and skin issues. They'd even call truces during wars so injured warriors could come here to heal. During World War I, soldiers used the minerals from this lake to make ammo in nearby factories. For a long time, one family wanted to turn it into a spa, but the indigenous folks convinced them otherwise. Eventually, they gave the lake back to the indigenous community, which now continues to preserve this place. In case you're thinking of taking a dip in these waters, tough luck. You can't swim in Spotted Lake in order to protect those colorful pools. But don't worry, you can still check it out from behind a fence that goes all the way around it, so it's still a great place to put on your bucket list. Number 9. Bizarre crooked bush. In Saskatchewan, there exists a peculiar natural phenomenon known as crooked bush, a grove of aspen trees that defy the typical pattern of straight growth towards the sun. This botanical anomaly, located near Hafford in Canada's Saskatchewan province, stands as the world's only known grove of crooked aspen trees, and they look incredibly bizarre. You see, unlike usual aspen trees that reach skyward, the specimens in crooked bush exhibit a distinctive crookedness. This oddity, initially documented in the 1940s, has drawn the attention of countless visitors annually. To facilitate exploration while preserving the delicate ecosystem, a wooden walkway allows visitors to navigate without disturbing the new growth of more bizarre aspen trees. Naturally, over time, the gnarled appearance of crooked bush has birthed numerous tales and local legends. Some attribute it to alien involvement, while others spoke of giant rabbits that once resided among the trees, sipping their sap and introducing their unconventional growth. Some theorized that a genetic mutation occurred, resulting in these crooked trees. However, how exactly this happens remains unknown to this day. Number 8. Living like it's 1986. Can you imagine a whole year without using your smartphone? A lot of us can't manage such a feat. Yes, I'm included. That's why it's pretty surprising that a family in Canada voluntarily participated in a social experiment where they weren't allowed to use their phones. Blair McMillan, a 26-year-old dad, got the idea when he realized his 5-year-old son was more interested in playing video games on an iPad than going outside to enjoy a beautiful summer day. He started thinking about his childhood when playing outdoors was the norm and realized that today's generation is pretty hooked on modern tech like computers, smartphones, and the internet. Blair talked to teens and 20-somethings who couldn't imagine life without their gadgets. He remembered that, as a kid, it was almost impossible to keep children indoors even for 30 minutes. They ditched the internet, 24-hour news channels, and cell phones. Instead, they brought in an old 80s TV set, a ghetto blaster cassette player, and started sending snail mail instead of emails. They even swapped their GPS for old-fashioned maps and embraced film-based cameras. Blair admits it wasn't easy, especially with the phantom phone vibrations in his pocket, but the experience brought the family closer together and encouraged more face-to-face conversations. Would you do something like this? Honestly, I really wouldn't let go of my phone for anything. Number 7. Age Wolf Pup. In 2018, an extraordinary find occurred in the Canadian permafrost. Researchers discovered the mummified remains of an Ice Age wolf pup and a caribou, with their skin and fur remarkably well preserved. Despite the fact that the mammals were more than 50,000 years old, their fur was still intact. These ancient specimens provided a unique glimpse into life during the Ice Age, offering valuable insights into the appearance and biology of these creatures. The well-preserved fur and skin allowed scientists to study the animal's physical characteristics in detail and better understand their adaptations to the challenging Ice Age environment. Number 6. A dinosaur fossil. A newly discovered fossil has got scientists intrigued, a complete hadrosaur skeleton. The fossil, which seemed to be sitting within a hillside, was spotted sticking out of the terrain at Dinosaur Provincial Park in Alberta, Canada, as reported by The National. Now, here's a fun fact. Did you know that most dinosaur bones found in museums are actually replicas based on what researchers have pieced together from the field? For this reason, finding a fully preserved skeleton could provide scientists with critical knowledge about not just the appearance of these dinosaurs, but also their development. Hadrosaurs, often called duck-billed due to their snout's large, flat bill-like appearance, lived during the late Cretaceous period around 65 to 75 million years ago. They were large herbivores, standing between 23 to 26 feet tall and weighing 2 to 4 tons. With this discovery, we might finally learn more about this extinct creature. Number 5. Ancient ruins older than the pyramids. In 2020, researchers discovered an ancient village while exploring an island located about 300 miles north of Victoria, British Columbia. Experts stumbled upon a treasure trove of ancient artifacts, including fishhooks, spears, and tools for making fires. But perhaps the most significant revelation came when they unearthed an ancient cooking hearth. It was through this hearth that they discovered that the settlement in the area dates back an astonishing 14,000 years, making it more than 3 times older than the famous Egyptian pyramids. Now, why exactly is this significant? You see, this discovery challenges our understanding of ancient history and forces us to reconsider the timeline of human civilization in North America. However, researchers weren't the first ones who challenged this notion. The Haltsuk Nation, an indigenous government in the area, has long asserted extensive land rights based on their ancestral history dating back to the last ice age. Unfortunately, their claims only relied on oral accounts passed down through countless generations. Fortunately, after years of fighting for their claim, solid evidence has surfaced. While it was once believed that humans entered North America around 13,000 years ago via a land bridge from Alaska, this discovery suggests that early inhabitants were skilled sea mammal hunters who traveled by boat. This discovery helped the Haltsuk people to assert their rights over the native lands that were rightfully theirs. Number 4. Indigenous Remains. Recently, a heartbreaking discovery was made in Canada. An indigenous nation discovered over 200 bodies on the grounds of a former indigenous school site in Canada. Between 1883 and 1996, Canadian officials forcibly removed about 150,000 indigenous children from their families, sending them to schools like Kamloops Indian Residential School. Indigenous languages and traditions were banned, and abuse was rampant, all aimed at erasing their indigenous identities. Resembling prisons, according to Crystal Gale Fraser, a University of Alberta professor. The indigenous people knew something horrible happened to the children sent to the boarding schools, but it wasn't until 2021 that the truth was revealed. What's more harrowing is that not even a year later, more than 300 unmarked graves were discovered on the school grounds once again, in addition to the past 200 remains found by ground-penetrating radar. In the past, several indigenous children were reported to have run away or simply disappeared. Although their parents didn't believe the claims, they had no choice but to accept that their children were gone. This heartbreaking discovery revealed the truth behind the children's disappearance. In response to this discovery, indigenous groups across Canada now call for a comprehensive nationwide search of former residential school sites. Grand Chief Stuart Phillip, president of the Union of British Columbia Indian Chiefs, stressed the importance of thoroughly investigating all residential school locations for unmarked mass graves. Number 3. Shoes with just feet. Imagine walking along the shore, and you suddenly see shoes with feet still in them. It sounds like something straight out of a horror mystery novel, but this is actually a real occurrence. This anomaly is known as the mystery of the Salish Sea. The Salish Sea, nestled between Western Canada and Washington State, is known for its scenic beauty, offering beachcombers the chance to discover shells, beach glass, and occasional pottery fragments. However, in 2007, something far more dreadful began to appear: human feet. This startling phenomenon raised questions about the origins of these so-called Salish Sea feet. The question was, where were these Salish Sea feet coming from? For years, there were countless theories about where these feet were coming from serial killers to plane crashes. To solve the mystery, researchers studied underwater pig carcasses and ocean currents. They discovered that sea creatures quickly separate feet from bodies in the water. The currents then carry these buoyant feet to the shoreline, especially during prevailing winds. Through DNA analysis, investigators identified most of the feet's owners as missing persons who had met accidents or tragic ends. And so, in the end, no serial killers are on the loose. Even so, this incident is pretty horrifying, isn't it? Number 2. Bizarre tropical sea creatures. Imagine you went fishing, thinking you'd have a great catch, but after hauling your net up, you find a long, translucent creature that resembles a cucumber. Yep, these pinkish tubular creatures welcomed the fishermen of Canada in 2017. These creatures are known as pyrosums, and in the tropical waters where they're usually found, these typically reach up to a staggering 30 feet. However, in the colder waters of Canada, these only grow up to 2 feet. Even so, their presence was a threat to the local ecosystem of the Canadian waters. After all, there were millions of them ready to eradicate and disturb the local flora and fauna in the territory. That same year, a team of researchers from Central Oregon conducted a study that yielded astounding results. They collected a staggering 60,000 of these glowing cucumber-like organisms in just 5 minutes of net fishing. Experts believe that the sea creatures appeared to have migrated northward, likely due to being carried along by unusually warm water currents in recent years. Local fishermen were among the most affected, as they now face the challenge of hauling up thousands of these slimy sea tubes instead of salmon or cod. Fortunately, this situation was put under control. Now it's time for today's topic. On a cold, misty morning in the dense woods near the remote town of Prince George in British Columbia, Canada, a jogger named Alex was out for his usual early run. The forest was still and quiet, with only the sounds of his footsteps and breathing breaking the silence. As he approached a bend in the trail, something unusual caught his eye: a large, dark figure standing among the trees, partially obscured by the dense foliage. Instinctively, Alex slowed down and pulled out his phone, activating the camera. He then aimed his flashlight at the figure, and to his horror, the beam illuminated a pair of glowing red eyes staring back at him. The creature was massive, towering well over 8 feet tall, with broad shoulders and limbs that seemed too large to be human. But what truly sent a chill down Alex's spine were those glowing eyes, now reflecting the light with an eerie intensity. Without warning, the creature moved, disappearing into the shadows of the forest with unnerving speed. Alex's heart raced as he realized what he had just recorded: a creature that bore an eerie resemblance to the legendary Wendigo, a cryptid rumored to haunt the remote forests of Canada. The footage, later reviewed by experts, sparked a wave of interest and speculation, as many believed that Alex had captured undeniable proof of the elusive Wendigo lurking in the remote woods of British Columbia. Number 1. 500-million-year-old jellyfish. Jellyfish are some of the planet's most peculiar creatures and also rank among the earliest complex animals that ever lived. They might be brainless, but these creatures are among the longest surviving species on our planet. On an ever-changing planet with 5 big extinctions, that's an incredibly hard feat to accomplish. and so most discoveries of jellyfish specimens are considered valuable. In the Rocky Mountains of British Columbia, fossils of Burgessomedusa phasmiformis were discovered. This massive jellyfish lived more than 500 million years ago. This discovery challenges previous notions about the origins of jellyfish, suggesting that they've been around for at least 500 million years. While some debate exists among researchers, it adds to the evidence that jellyfish, or their ancestors, were part of Earth's ancient marine life during the Cambrian period. The fossils of Burgessomedusa are approximately 8 inches long, making them some of the largest creatures of their time. Modern research suggests that these massive jellyfish that lived millions of years ago were the ancient ancestors of most modern jellyfish we see today. Let me know if there are other discoveries you think we missed in this video. Also, be sure to check out our other cool stuff popping up on the screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video.